Okay, if this looks like the same day as the end to my last vlog, that's because it is. Hi, I just finished the first 100 pages of the Archon of Peace, and I'm actually quite enjoying it so far. It's very fast-paced, and there's a lot going on. There's not a lot of explanation, but also at the same time, there's a perfect amount of explanation. I can't really quite explain it. I did get really overwhelmed at first because it feels like there's a lot of important information being thrown at you. And while I would say that there is a lot of important information being shared within the first chapters, it's well done, like it's relevant to what's currently happening in the situation, and it's interesting. Like, you know, you learn about the people's powers as they're battling their way to not die. Bring up the fact that I got overwhelmed because I started taking notes. I already have nearly half a page of notes from the first 100 pages, but it's quite interesting so far. I also printed out the map from the reviewer's copy just so I understand like the geography and everything, because I'm finding that apparently geography matters to me now when I'm reading high fantasy. I'm quite enjoying it so far. The writing isn't anything particularly flowery or notable. Everything is conveyed the way it needs to be conveyed, and all the information is being shared as I think the author intends it to. Very high fantasy, but I'm enjoying it so far. Apparently I'm still in that high fantasy mood after the Dragon of Ginseng, so I think this is the perfect book to jump back into. So it didn't take me that long to read 100 pages, and you know, as big as this book is, it reads quite quickly. I might pause to take notes every now and then, and I get distracted by social media and whatever, but honestly, I don't think it took me more than an hour and a half to read 100 pages, so I might be able to finish this in under a week. We'll see, but consider this the official start of the reading vlog for The Archon of Peace by Judy Anderson C. Bunzeland. Enjoy with me reading this 800-page chunky boy. Okay, hello. It's now Friday, and we just got back from a thing that we had to do, and I had the opportunity to read during that thing. And I actually got about 200-ish pages into the Aosawa Murders by Riku Onda. This is not on my TBR this month, but it was the only paperback that I was interested in that fit in my purse. So it was convenient, and it's actually quite good. I've been a little hesitant to read translated Japanese fiction recently after I didn't really enjoy Out by Natsuo Kirino. And I think that might have been a translation issue, might have also been a content issue, but I wasn't really, you know, in the mood to read any more, honestly. But I saw the premise of the Aosawa Murders, and I thought that it was a very different storytelling style, despite it kind of being on a similar vein of genre. Backtracking, the premise of this book is that in the 70s, there was this prominent family, the Aosawas, and pretty much all of the family was killed by a poisoning except for the blind daughter Hisako, and it's been several decades according to the blurb, and someone has reopened the case and is trying to solve the case because they weren't really satisfied with who was originally deemed the killer. And so lots of things have happened in those decades, such as someone having written a book sort of pseudo about the event, and you know, the detective is picking up clues through these interviews of people who are very tertiary to the situation, and I'm very excited to see how it culminates, because I personally don't really have a clue who did it, and I enjoy that. I'm enjoying it for that reason as well. So yeah, I'm gonna go finish this now, and I'll let you guys know my final thoughts when I do. I don't know. I just finished this book, and for some reason the last like 3 or 4 chapters made it even more confused. But I did read some reviews online in an attempt to try and find out who done it, and apparently you're not supposed to find out who done it. You're just supposed to enjoy the story and how it's being told and whatnot. And so for that reason, I did really enjoy this book. I think it was just really atmospheric and creepy and unsettling. It does get very philosophical at some points, but it wasn't like super pretentious or anything. How much do we read into things when we don't have a lot of information? That kind of deal. And then just overall, it's a really cool story. I don't know a lot of other books that do something like this where there's a crime, a fictional crime, that has all of these weird elements to it, and you know, it's still of interest many years later because it's affected so many people. and we're seeing the effects ripple out through the decades and how it's affected this entire community. I would recommend this if you're not looking to solve crime, if you're just looking to get a really cool, philosophical, creepy, eerie story. It was a fun beach read, so there's that too. Yeah, I think I'm going to reread, honestly, the last few chapters to see if I get a little more out of it. I was flying through the last half of it and I was itching to find out more information, but you just get more confused as you do get more information. So I finished this. I am about 30 pages into my 100 pages of the Archon of Peace for today. I'm going to continue with that, and I'll check in with you guys when I have more interesting stuff to share. Okay, well, hello. It's later in the day. First of all, please excuse my face situation right now. It's the end of the day, and I'm about to just hunker down and play video games pretty much for the rest of the night. But I do want to check in because we went down to the secondhand bookshop that also sells a bunch of other stuff. So I check it every now and then, and oh boy did I get quite the haul today, even though I'm supposed to be technically on a book buying ban. But anyway, let's just go through what I got. The first thing is a short story compilation anthology from Shirley Jackson. It's called The Lottery, like this is what it says on the cover. It says Lottery and Other Stories. If you don't know The Lottery is probably Shirley Jackson's most famous work, and it's a short story. And then you can read it for free online. I've actually never seen or had a bound copy. I think for when I read it in school, I had it in an e-copy. So very excited to not only reread The Lottery because it's crazy good, but to read all these other little short stories and little vignettes that Shirley Jackson has put in this compilation. If you guys didn't know, she's one of my favorite authors. I think We Have Always Lived in the Castle and The Haunting of Hill House and Hang Salmon. Those are some of my favorite books of all time. So yeah, super excited to read this and just to have it in my possession. The next book I got, I was super excited about. It's When the Moon Was Ours by Anna Marie McLemore. Well, I listened to an audiobook of one of Anna Marie McLemore's other books, and it was okay. I vaguely remember the audiobook experience kind of ruined it for me, so I'm hoping that reading the physical copy will definitely improve my enjoyment. The next book I got, I was very surprised to see. It's a hardback copy of Lester by Raven Leilani. I heard a lot of buzz about this book. I don't know much about it. The next book I got, I did not know this book existed, and it is The House of Shattered Wings by Aliette de Bollard. Pardon my pronunciation. I know that they're also the author of a very popular novella. I believe it's called like Fire Heart Tiger or something. I'll put the cover here. But I didn't know that they have other books, and I actually quite like the synopsis for this one. So it looks like it just takes place in France, but there's magic, and there was just a great big war, and this book kind of explores the fallout of that war in France. The last one I got is To the Sky Kingdom by Tang Chi. Jumped out to me immediately because it has this logo on the side. I've never seen this company before. It turns out it looks like Amazon has its own imprint or publishing company, I guess. So this is one of the books published by Amazon. It's translated from Chinese, and I don't know if I've read a lot of non-classic translated Chinese. Like I read The Romance of the Four Kingdoms, I believe it's called. I'll put the cover here again. And I really enjoyed that, honestly. It's high fantasy involving gods and humans and all of that good stuff. So very interested to give this a try. Pretty much all the book updates I have for you guys. I'm about 200 pages into Archon of Peace right now, which is on pace, but I don't really have much to add. Like, I'm still really enjoying it. I'm excited to read another 100 pages tomorrow. So hello, it is Saturday. I was awful, and I went to a flea market that my friends had a booth at, and we just bought a bunch of stuff to support local businesses, and I totally forgot to like film anything, even though I did bring my camera, so I'm really sorry about that. But hopefully I remember tomorrow, because there's another event I'm going to. It's called Pusong, filipinx, and hopefully I remember to vlog. Fingers crossed. But I got home, and my friend said she had sent me a book in the mail, so we are going to open that. Thank you in advance, Maury, for the book mail. Want by Cindy Pond. So if you watched one of my previous vlogs, I was on the hunt for this book, but I couldn't find it at any local stores. So Maury was the best and she sent it to me, and now we're gonna buddy read it and I'm super excited. So I'm gonna go tell Maury thank you for sending me this book. I do have my Amazon wish list linked in my link tree down below if you guys are ever interested, but of course that's just there mostly for my reference. No pressure at all to ever get me any. Thank you again, Maury. Hello, it's now Sunday. It's about an hour or two before we're gonna leave for the Pusong filipinx event, which I promise I will try to film. But I do want to check in because I kind of put aside Archon Peace yesterday. I didn't read it at all, so I'm a little behind on that. But I did pick up Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim, which was recommended to me by my friend Veronica at Moon Coffee Books. She really loved this book, and I was surprised because reviews that I had heard of it, of other people whose opinions I trust, were kind of mixed. I feel like what was happening is a lot of people were getting high expectations from the idea that it was like Project Runway meets Mulan, and they expected that the entirety of the book was going to be the trial, when it turns out that only half the book was the trial, and then the rest of it we're following Maya as she has to craft these dresses that have essentially materials of the gods. And I'm really enjoying it. I mean, I guess knowing that half the book was only going to be the trial and the rest of it was going to be something else kind of helped my enjoyment of the first half especially. But I'm really liking Lady Sarnai, who is the princess who's supposed to be marrying the king and uniting their kingdoms. She is doing some petty bullshit and I love it. I absolutely live for it. And then also I really like Edan. I don't know quite how to pronounce his name, but I really like him. He reminds me a lot of Arlong from the Ghost Bride, and that, you know, sassy kind of companion to the main character. Yeah, just really enjoying that overall. I'm about 200 pages in right now. This book is very deceiving. So like the spine says I'm like maybe only a 300 page book, but the paper itself says I'm a 400 page book. So interesting for me. I thought this was gonna be a quick short read, but it's not quite. It's about 400 pages. So it's gonna take me a little longer, but I am really enjoying it. And I have kind of put aside Archon Peace for it. So yeah, I'll let you guys know my thoughts when I finish.